Welcome to the Coached Podcast. I'm your host, Coach Keren Eldad. Settle in. We're about to make you feel really good. Welcome back to Coached, the Coaching Masters series. I'm Coach Keren, your host, and this series, to remind you, is only about the teachers, the real ones, the ones who don't just know something, they are something. They've done the work, lived the lessons, and they're here to teach not just concepts, but through their conviction. This is about how they teach and what they teach, but most importantly, it's about why they teach. Today's guest is Annie Lalla, whose work as a love coach is as soulful as it is practical. Annie helps people, single or coupled, to find and build relationships that maximize freedom. As Rumi wrote, "Your task is not to seek for love, but merely to seek and find all the barriers within yourself that you have built against it." That is what you do and what you exemplify. With a background in biology, philosophy, Buddhism, NLP, and even theater, Annie brings an integrative and wholly original perspective to love, desire, and relationship. I'm so honored to have you here. Welcome.
Thank
Annie.
you, love.
Thank you so much for being here. My fellow Austinite.
Yeah!
Yes. And you know, the field of love is such an interesting part of the coaching universe. One of my first certifications was as a love attraction coach.
Oh.
It was a real certification program by the great Catherine Alice because I was particularly interested in it. I'm always curious, why love and how love? How did your path evolve and how did it end you up in this particular segment?
Man, I did a thesis in university, a philosophy thesis, and I somehow ended up doing the whole project about how love was communicated in historic fiction, in poetry, in cultural narratives. And I realized I've been interested in researching love for as long back as I can remember. Even as a young child, like a kid in the schoolyard playing games in recess, if two kids were in a dilemma, I would somehow find myself mediating. So it's not just love, but the resolving of barriers to love that I feel is my sweet spot. So conflict resolution is kind of like my favorite way to support love happening. And so I feel like love is the background state of affairs of reality. And then just like the sun hits objects, there's no such thing as a shadow in and of itself. There's just something that blocks the sunlight. So I feel like love is the basic nature of reality. And then any place that stops love is shadow.
Yeah.
But it's not a thing in and of itself. So I want to remove any shadow that blocks love. In yourself,
Yes.
in your relationship, between people.
And it's been an organic interest all your life, but why? What are your parents like? What's your
Yeah.
family like?
Yeah, let's see.
What are your early relationships like?
My mom and dad loved each other deeply. They stayed with each other. My mom died about 9 years ago, and he was right there with her till the end. And they were a really interesting love story. They'd known each other as little children, grew up together in the Caribbean, moved to Canada. We were an immigrant family. But there was always a bickering, bickering between them. And I think some part of me as the first child thought maybe if I could learn how to help my parents transcend their bickering, there could be more smoothness and ease in the house. And I think that might have been the early motivator. But I became really good at it with all my friends. And I even helped my parents. I helped hold many conversations where I mediated as a grown woman between my parents having a dilemma, smoothing out relationships between our siblings and the parents and each other. I became the family leader at 14.
That's incredible.
Nobody said it, but I could feel that my parents allowed me to go beyond them and to start leading the family in a new direction. And that was very intelligent of them. I think many parents hold on to the authority and don't realize that the faster and sooner your child supersedes you in consciousness, the better the parent you were.
Incredible.
And they knew that. And so I had that opportunity to be seen by my parents as a leader, as a facilitator for the system, and I've been doing that with my family ever since.
That's so interesting. That's traditionally a third child role.
Is it?
They're mediators, and they tend to just naturally be, and this is according to the research, they tend to be much better at facilitating. The eldest child, I am too, tend to kind of break off from the pack and be like, peace out, y'all, you figure this out yourselves. In fact, I have to tell you, I admire your courage. I would never dare to attempt to coach or facilitate for my parents.
Oh,
I
wow,
kind
I
of
g-
leave them alone. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I've been doing it since the beginning, and I actually have
Wow.
enrolled my husband, and we've held sessions with my mom and my dad and
Amazing.
dealt with things they hadn't resolved. But I was the first child I did break off. I moved to Europe.
Yeah.
I did my own thing. But I had this sense that every time I developed a new skill, a new consciousness, a new facet, the extent to which I could help my parents upgrade their consciousness, I noticed there was an energetic umbilical cord that connects us at all times.
Yeah.
And when they upgraded, I would get an extra upgrade. So I find it a high ROI in making tiny adjustments to my parents' consciousness and knowledge, because it would cascade into the entire family system. I'm one of 4 children.
Yeah.
So when I bring my parents up a notch, like I've taken them to Burning Man, I've taken them
That's crazy.
to London, I've had them travel the world with me, I've had them do things, plant medicine, therapy, landmark.
Your parents are extraordinary, just FYI.
They were extraordinary, and what I think was most extraordinary is they knew when a child had more to offer them than they had to offer the child, and they
Unbelievable.
let us.
Yes, and that they just let you do that.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's a gift. That's probably part of what has allowed you to be so original and so risk-friendly.
Yeah, my father once told me, when you read a book, Annie, the book is just someone's ideas at the moment. And if there's anything you disagree with in the book, your ideas might be more valuable and more useful. And he gave me from the first moment of relating my ideas to the world that I might have something to contribute that was beyond anything that had already been written. And I feel like that liberated me to see, where can I add to the canon? I would make up words and just start using the words. Like, you have to have audacity to make up a word and just say, this is a word, and make up ideas. And I
Yeah.
always could feel like my dad in particular, but also my mom just clapping and going, yeah, go on. Soar past us. We're clapping for you.
I love that so much. And yet I also know that no teacher comes by this work without a degree of struggle.
Yeah.
We come by this work honestly.
Yeah.
What was your struggle?
It's interesting. I've always been good at relationships, like good at friendships, and good at helping people have relationships and friendships. Like, I remember friends calling me in the middle of the night from Norway to mediate a drama. But I think what really influenced me in this work is I was an idealist. And so my struggle has historically come from trying to match current reality to the ideals in my mind. And I'm a passionate, tenacious idealist. So, for every partner that I ever met in romance, I would try to pull the relationship up to this fantasy in my mind. And when you realize, as I do now, that whenever you compare a person or a situation with a fantasy in your mind, it will always fall short.
Yeah.
And so I think over the years, my struggle has been letting go of a fantasy and taking on deep appreciation for the what's so, the actual human, imperfect relationship that you have right now, and to stop comparing it to the shoulda, coulda, woulda, and trade in the ideal for what's actually alive. Once I was able to actually surrender to the person that I'm with, and my husband right now, like surrender to his imperfection and his wounds and his crazies, and honor and appreciate what he offers, instead of comparing it to what he should or could be in my imagination, that's when our relationship transformed.
Absolutely. And that's so funny, because this brings me to a story that definitely illustrates how this struggle becomes, or much more authentically experienced by you through a particular struggle. A lot of us expand our work in the work. In other words, while we're already teaching other people, we have more insights into ourselves that can then inform us to teach others.
Absolutely.
And you shared an incredible story. I think it was with Ziva Meditation. It was about a diagnosis
Yes.
that challenged you to see yourself differently, to go through something, and to finally understand true unconditional love. Talk about going from perfectionist ideal to holy shit, life is getting real.
Yeah.
Can you tell that story?
Yeah, so about 6 years ago, we did some comprehensive health testing just to check up on us. We're getting older. And in those tests, we found a couple things. My husband realized he had a propensity for heart disease, and it changed his life in terms of his diet and his health regime. But I found out that I had the BRCA1 gene, which is a gene that indicates the likelihood that I could develop ovarian or breast cancer later in life, 90% around. So by removing my ovaries and my breast tissue, I would go from 87+% to 1% or something like that. So I'd already had my daughter, and we'd already decided I wasn't having any more children, like we were complete. So it made sense to prophylactically remove my ovaries. And so we did that. I didn't need my uterus anymore. So my uterus and my ovaries were removed. And afterwards in the pathology lab, they found in my ovaries very small, tiny 2-millimeter tumor in my ovary, which was ovarian cancer. So suddenly I realized I didn't have anything, and now I had ovarian cancer, but it's out. And so it put me into sort of a dilemma, a spin, because ovarian cancer is called the silent killer.
Yeah.
It's usually found very late in life. They found it at stage 1, which I think my doctor had never seen in his career. So it was
lucky,
and intuition. Something in my intuition was telling me to go get these tests.
Yeah.
And I think it was a wisdom. You know, you always create curriculum for yourself, and I think the whole cancer adventure was a curriculum I created for myself with the most intensity but the least cost to wake me up out of my slumber.
Yeah.
There was a way in which I was taking my life for granted. There's a way in which I was repressing my rage and not standing up for my needs and my wants in my life, but also with my partner.
Yeah.
Even despite him saying, I need your anger, I need you to represent, I don't know what, I can't read your mind. And I would just be like stuck and like in this pattern of approval seeking and pandering and fawning in my romantic dynamic. I was powerful everywhere else in life, but in my romantic dynamic, I had this attachment pattern that was keeping my genuine pain and heartbreak repressed.
Yeah.
And I think it was showing up as the cancer, and I caught it early enough. And so during that journey, I researched all the different options, and according to my surgeon, he said, listen, you're really lucky to find it this early, and if you do a very light chemo session for 6 months, I think we could never see this again for the rest of your life.
It's amazing.
And so I sat with it. I tuned in to my future 85-year-old self, and I communed with her, and I asked her, what should I do? Because I'm not someone who likes to take medicine, and chemo was terrifying to me. But I heard my 85-year-old self like smiling at me, and she kept saying, you get through it. Do the chemo. Just do the chemo. So I trusted that. And I went through the process of going through chemo, which is quite a harrowing process. And when you're going through a sickness or a health journey, you start to, your self-esteem takes a hit.
Yeah.
You're like, am I valuable? Am I useful? Was my husband still love me?
Yeah.
I need to go to the hospital. I need to do this chemo treatment.
I'm dependent.
I'm dependent.
Am I attractive? Yeah.
Am I, lovable still? All these insecurities. And I'd had surgery, so I had the scar, and now I'm not a woman anymore because I didn't have my uterus and my ovaries. Like all these stories come up. But I just watched how my husband showed up every single chemo treatment. He showed up with me. We used to dress up. I wanted him to dress up in these onesies, like a bunny and a unicorn. We dressed together in the same onesies. And he was like, I don't want to wear this in the chemo. And I'm like, please wear it for me. I want to just walk through the chemo hall, and I want to cheer everyone up. And he just did whatever I needed. And he was at my side, and he stood by me. And I thought, we'd been together several years by then, like a decade. I thought I knew he loved me, but it wasn't until that experience when he had every reason to kind of pull out that he didn't, that something in my heart clicked, and I was like, oh, he actually loves you. He's not leaving. He's with you forever. And I think I needed that to believe it, honestly. And so since that journey till now, and it's never come back, thank goodness, I'm clear, it woke me up to the ways in which I repressed anger and rage and brought my agency more online.
Yes.
It's upgraded our relationship. I have a better, stronger voice to stand for what I need, and I think he's able to understand me better. And I don't question anymore, does he love me, does he love me? I'm just like, he loves me.
Yes.
It's unquestionable. And it's such a triumph to get to the place in life where you believe that somebody sees you in all your crazies, in all your brokenness, in all your wounds, and just loves you no matter what.
It's so true. And the most fundamental thing for that is unfortunately not cancer, or thankfully not cancer. It's really loving yourself.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things that I adore about how you teach, because it's truly a coming home to self and an adoration of self, which ultimately allows you to do this. Can you say a bit about how you branch into this realm and what informs your methodology, how you created your framework?
Yeah. Well, I wanted to just double down on what you said. It starts with self-love. I mean, I love you starts with an I.
Yeah.
And if you don't have a powerful relationship to yourself, your needs, your wants, you won't be able to create the art piece that a relationship is, which is the genius, the collaborative genius of two different perspectives, two different value sets. It's a living, dynamic work of art, a relationship. And I think every couple that falls in love is reinventing love from scratch, from first principles. And you can't just copy paste from what you've seen in your friends and your parents. You have to reinvent it from scratch.
It's so interesting. I want to stop you here because there's a common misconception I think that you and I already touched on in our very brief conversation before this. And I'm going to present it as a question just to have some funsies and see if the audience gets something out of this. I recently listened to a podcast where Tracy Ellis Ross said, I do love myself and therefore I don't need a partner. Where does that make sense?
I think it's an understandable response to a world that is probably telling her more often than she'd like to hear, you're incomplete. You're not done the fullness of life. You need to find a partner. You need to find a partner. And I think
in other words, she's using resistance.
She's pushing back on the mainstream narrative that you can't be happy without a partner. And I can understand why someone telling her what to do, the rebellion teenager would want to push back.
Yeah.
So I can dignify and have compassion for her response. My suspicion, though, is that it's a temporary phase that she's moving through to push back on the cultural narrative, and that if she settles down into the truth of her soul, that my suspicion is that she'll find the native, honest yearning that comes from the part of us that wants to co-create magic with someone, whether she wants a family or not. I think at its core, every human soul wants to make love. Like literally make the art form of love, and to have a dance partner and a playmate, and what I say is a trampoline for your dreams and a sanctuary for your heart. Who wouldn't want that? And that's what you should be looking for as a partner.
Who wouldn't want that? Exactly.
Who wouldn't want that? And
it requires a softening.
Now, if she's
That's
never
why
been
I
in
always
love,
say about the toughening stance is a sign. Dr. Kristen Neff was here, the mother of self-compassion. She's like, exactly, you just need to soften for long enough to just ask what's the correct answer for me rather than what am I pushing against.
Yes, and there needs to be a softening, but also allowing herself to fully occupy and enjoy her aloneness. I think there is a wisdom to what she's protecting, probably the way she's, instead of saying, I love myself, I don't need to find someone else to be in love with, she could graduate to, I love myself, and I'm available to love in all its forms, however it wants to greet me. Then it leaves it open-ended. So my sense is she's reacting to the pressure, and we all go through phases. And as someone who I see myself as an ambassador for true love, it's my favorite idea, and I'm guarding it with my life. I'm not just a love and relationship coach. I'm literally an avatar for that idea being possible for everyone. And so I'm biased. So I have this fetish that I want everyone to have access to this dance. I think it's the highest quality of game you can play as a human being. And so I'm biased, but it's possible that some people's curriculum in this lifetime is not to do the true love dance. It's to, I don't know, be a monk in a temple. And I can't imagine how that's more fun than being a monk with someone you're in love with beside you. And the whole Zen game, I think the next Buddha is a couple.
Exactly.
The next Buddha is a couple in love.
My guess is something is going on there behind the scenes that we just can't see.
Maybe.
But yeah, you're right. Ultimately, it's just about the sensual expression of your own soul, and if it works, it works. And the root of it is self-love. So does your methodology, your frameworks, first and foremost support the unblocking to love?
Absolutely. Most people who come to me who are single or who are in a conflict-laden relationship, the upper limit to their ability to make their relationship function is usually an inner game constraint on their own sense of value, worth, and dignity. And so the way I think of it is I'm trying to get the person to fall more in love with themselves and their life and the world. And self-esteem is really what I'm doing at all times. I'm cultivating self-esteem in the individual, whether they're in a relationship or not. Self-esteem.
I enjoy the way you define self-esteem.
Yeah, Nathaniel Branden defines self-esteem as two parts. The first part is believing that you deserve to be happy, that your needs and wants have dignity. So it's about worthiness. Second part of self-esteem is believing that you can cope with what life brings your way. So it's about resilience and the capacity to hang when things get hectic. But you need both of these facets in order for self-esteem to flourish. And usually we're better in one than the other. So you want to cultivate your underdeveloped facet. So I'm constantly helping people. I'm a coach that teaches people how to cope with wider and wider ranges of feelings and intensities and experiences. And I'm also helping them cultivate an internal sense of dignity, worthiness, and value. Not that they have to earn, when I do this, I'm valuable, but to feel valuable just because they exist. The way a squirrel or a mushroom or an elephant just exists, takes what it needs, what it wants from the environment, and leaves what it doesn't. Even your blood cells and your neurons just take what it needs from the bloodstream, and there's no apology or is it okay or self-doubt, right? The natural default state of us when we're born is, hi, I'm here, I'm a piece of divinity, and I have needs and wants, and I deserve to have them met, until we learn otherwise or are programmed otherwise. So I want to get people back to that original imprint of, I exist and I'm valuable because I am a piece of the universe happening once and for all and never again. And by virtue of that, I deserve.
I love that. Unfortunately, I've also found that when you really do the work and people expand into their self-worth, I love to take credit for all the weddings that have happened because people have discovered their self-love and attracted their soulmate and gotten married, and that's really wonderful. But the thing that's a little less exciting is the coaching divorce, which is a very common phenomenon as well. That people just really discover themselves, and once they fully discover themselves, they find that they're not aligned. Has that also been your experience?
I think they were aligned for the time that they were aligned.
Of course.
So I think
we're all banging out karma.
Exactly. And I think every relationship is a school.
Yeah.
And when you graduate from university, you get your degree, it's a success. It's never a failure when you graduate a school. So if every relationship is a school, and in each one you learn what works for you, what doesn't work for you, you learn about yourself and the world and relationships. Every relationship you've had, including everyone you've broken up with, I call them graduations.
Yes.
So you graduate with an education, and so they're all a success. And so when someone gets divorced, I see it as, oh, that school gave them the education and the nutrient that they needed. Once they got that, when you get your degree, you don't stay in university. So they graduate, and then some people, they go from school to school, which is fine. But I believe there is a school that you could find that is so infinitely fascinating and so compelling and so supportive of your development that you never want to graduate. And that's the true love relationship that I'm supporting people in being open to, believing in, and then giving them the maps to navigate and make it work.
I love that so much, and I love the way you express your mission. You're not just an ambassador for love. Why is it that you do what you do?
Honestly, I think that fear of death is what governs all of our insecurities. Every fear, if you trace it, drill it down, it's the fear of annihilation, a fear of death and mortality. And the only answer to death is to live life to the fullest. And when you're in love with someone and you found a person in whose eyes you can see truth and who you know sees all of you and loves you no matter what, when you have a kiss or a hug or a touch or a communion in that space, time stops. And you taste eternity. And in that moment, you stave off the terror of mortality and you taste the immortal. And so what I'm really trying to help people do is to dance with the immortal and the eternal by being engaged in a true love dynamic, because I think it breaks you through the constraints of this single life. It's cosmic. And I think being in love is the only thing that keeps you sane. I think all mental health issues come from a lack in a capacity to connect with self or other.
Yes.
And so it's really a mental health enterprise that I'm engaging in. I want to keep humans sane.
I couldn't agree with you more. I believe that finding soulmate love is the exaltation of the soul. It's the only way we'll ever really see any glimpse of that in this lifetime. And I also think that not just social interaction, but interaction with another who really cares for you is the antidote to any mental malaise. It's funny. It's sort of like every teacher I've spoken to about their method says, you have to experience it to understand it. And this is so true of real love. You have to experience this to understand this.
And that brings us back to that earlier comment about someone saying, you know, I love myself, why do I need someone else? If they've never been in love thus far, they don't even know. So how you can't even blame them until you know. You don't know. And that's why I see myself is my job with, I say my tagline is I help skeptics believe in true love. Because I love to work with someone who's cynical. Because a cynic is a failed idealist. It's someone who had a dream, their dream got dashed, and then they became bitter and dismissive of an idea, which is kind of what this sounds like.
And then they turned into a realist.
A realist or a pragmatist.
Which is a chic title for a cynic.
Yes. But because a cynic is a failed idealist, I know that if they'd really gotten over it, they wouldn't be bitter or cynical, they'd be neutral. So I know deep inside
That's
the
right.
cynic's heart is an ember of possibility. And I just have to find a way in to blow on that ember and reignite it. And once you get a cynic to reignite their ember, they become an ambassador like no other.
Completely.
So I really
They're
like
the
to work.
converts. You're
They're the
right.
converts. And so if you haven't tasted it yet, my job is to help package and market true love, custom crafted with the keywords to match the person I'm talking to help find a way into that ember and blow on it. And that's something I'm particularly good at. I'm stealth.
I love that. I've also learned to be very discerning with anger, with resistance, with cynicism, because that means you're really, really sad and you could really use some help.
Yeah.
They protest too much.
Yes.
And there's a way around that that's always very telling and very interesting. But in the meantime, I've also found that one of the most effective things you can do is just show people what it's like. In other words, by the example. Because when you hang out with a really happy couple, there's nothing more inspiring.
No.
Like, it's also very hard to fake that. So,
Yeah. And happy couple doesn't mean that you're happy all the time.
No, we're not.
I really do think
My husband, when he's ecstatic, looks like this. For those who are only listening, he makes absolutely no facial expression.
Well, you probably heard me say this before, but I really do think true love is the white light of human emotion.
Yeah.
And when you shine white light through a glass prism, it breaks out into a rainbow of colors. When you shine love through a human heart, it breaks out into the full spectrum of all emotions. So to say I love you is actually to say I am willing to feel my joy, my fear, my jealousy, my rage, my anguish in order to be in this relationship. And it also means I'm willing to stay and hold space while you feel your rage, your joy, your anguish, your jealousy. And in service of our mutual maximal aliveness, because that's the point of being alive, it's not to be happy. The opposite of dead is not happy. It's alive. And so I'm on a mission to change the cultural source code from happily ever after bullshit to alive ever after. Once people realize that to be in love is to be pressed up against maximal aliveness so that you lived your dance before you die, I think they'll change their angle when they're fighting, like, oh, this shouldn't be so hard. Why is it so difficult? Nobody says that about CrossFit.
No.
Love is the emotional CrossFit games, right? And if people don't seem to know that. They think it's like going to the spa, not the gym. So then they're mad when they break out into a sweat. I think of love as like climbing Mount Everest. You don't throw flip-flops and a water bottle in your backpack and go, off I go. You get training, you get support, you learn about it, you study it, you research it, you practice. And it's a dojo. And so I want to shift cultural understanding so that people understand that you're taking on the hardest work you're ever going to do, but the most rewarding. And it's the path that allows you to emancipate your small self into your greatness, your shadow into the light, faster than any transformational program out there.
Faster than psilocybin.
Faster than any plant medicine.
Absolutely.
Love is the strongest psychedelic known to man.
Yeah. You know, I was actually just going to ask you about that because I've loved hearing you advocate for maximum aliveness. And it makes me think that it's really useful for teachers because as a concept, it detaches you from outcome and makes you much more focused on process and benefits rather than outcome. When you're outcome oriented, everything becomes extremely painful.
Yeah.
Right? But when you're really just dedicated to the joy of the expansion, it's a different game.
Yeah, and you don't have to give up on your desires or your outcomes, but you want to hold them with an open palm, loosely, the way you might hold a bird with a broken wing. So I hold a desired outcome, but the minute you have a death grip on an outcome, you've lost the facility for grace, creativity to come in, and for something better to court you.
Exactly.
And so you want to hold the things you want gently so that they don't get scared and run away.
It's so true. This is true in law of attraction. It's true in goal setting. This is true if you read Atomic Habits by James Clear. As soon as you tighten your grip on something, you become a perfectionist. It's black or white. You can't enjoy anything, and what you want is actually going to fly away.
Yeah.
You were talking in a podcast very recently about what you're working on next in your relationship, which is another thing I just love. I always think that the best teachers are people who really take you on a journey with us.
Yeah.
In other words, get as close to me as possible. Not a problem. This is the shit I'm dealing with right now. Watch me deal with it. I might fuck it up, but I still want you to see it.
Yeah.
And you were talking about really just coming to terms with almost dealing with sometimes when you feel like being a little nitpicky towards your partner because he's not performing as you wish he would. This is something that's going to be so relatable to people. How's that going? What have you learned?
Yeah, I mean, you hire your partner to be a sacred mirror to reflect back your magnificence, your poetry, your intelligence, and your crazy, your shadow, and your madness, and your myopias. And you hired them to do that. And we get happy about the times when they're reflecting all the things that are great, but when they're actually highlighting where we are going unconscious, when we are not living into our values, that's the only time your partner gets triggered. They're not picking on you. They're actually noticing where are you failing to be your highest self, and you hired them to emancipate you from your smallness into your greatness. So one of the ways I've been working with my husband, and the frame that I come from is I'm not trying to change him. I'm not trying to make him different. I'm like Michelangelo, and I'm trying to carve David out of the marble. Michelangelo said he saw David inside the marble and he carved away everything that wasn't David. So when you fall in love, you literally hire your favorite sculptor, because you don't fall in love with another person. You fall in love with who you get to be, beside them, through them, because of them.
That's right.
You fall in love with their vision that they have for you. And so
it's alignment with self. That's something people don't understand. It's a very important point.
Yeah. So he hired me to be the Michelangelo, and my job is to help him see that I love him exactly as he is, his essence, and I'm not trying to change him. I'm trying to scrape off everything that is not him, all his defense patterns from childhood, his unconscious woundings, his habits, his approval-seeking strategies, all the things that are not really him. That's what I'm scraping off like barnacles off a ship. And once you realize that your partner is not trying to change you, they're trying to emancipate the magnum opus of your essence and take away everything that's not you, then you can surrender to their carving. And as the one who's trying to carve your partner into greatness, you want to make sure that they feel loved exactly as they are. So I call it going from WTF stance to MLK. So WTF stance is like, why don't you lock the front door? Why are you always late to pick up the kids? And you're complaining with shame, blame, and make wrong. Okay, there's a little bit of what the fuck in it.
Indeed.
And so if you can translate that into what I call MLK stance, which stands for Martin Luther King, and if there was ever anyone in the world that deserved to be what the fuck, it was him.
Totally.
But he didn't.
He didn't.
He said, I have a dream. And he motivated an entire nation and inspired them up to their next level of greatness by inviting them into a possibility.
Yes.
And so when you have an issue with your partner, you want to have them get, I love you exactly as you are, and if you never changed, I'm staying. That's the first piece. So you can't have them worried about losing you.
Yes, this is so critical.
Yes, you have to love them exactly as they are.
The people that I will leave is really, really.
Yeah, we have to get
playing with fire.
It's using nuclear weapons.
Absolutely.
And it's very hard to come back from that. So you have to get to the place privately where you're not in love with someone's potential. You're in love with who they are exactly as they are, even if they never changed, which is a hard thing to sit with.
The only way you can do it is by not loving yourself, even if you never change.
And that's the upper limit to loving someone else exactly as they are, is your ability to love yourself. So we got to work on both. But you start with, privately, I love them exactly as they are and I don't need them to change. And I believe that they will love themselves more if I were to help them be more aligned with their own values. You're not changing for my reasons. I want to help him transform so that he secretly alone when he's lying in bed goes, I like myself better now. So I'm standing for his greatness in his own eyes, which also happens to be a version that I admire more. And my job is to MLK it. How can I inspire him and enroll him in that future vision of himself without shame, blame, and make wrong, not saying he should be something else, but here's how I see you actually to be.
Yeah.
And I know that this is who you really are, and how can I support you in living into that? So it's an invitation to greatness rather than a shame or blame.
Yeah.
So WTF to MLK.
And we all have to learn how to do that because it's almost a reflex. I don't know about for you, but we learned it from our parents.
Yep. And we do it to ourselves.
And then we do it to ourselves, and then it's almost like, oh, I'm sorry I said that, but I did.
Yes. And you clean it up.
And
the faster you repair it, the faster you iterate. And this leads to when you hear someone criticizing you, whether it's family member or your partner, if you can hear the voice tone of the words being spoken, if the voice tone of the words being spoken is heart closed, do not trust the content.
Yes, so true.
Even if it's a voice in your head.
Yeah.
Listen to the voice tone. If my husband is speaking to me and his heart is closed, I hear it. I can report on what he's saying. I'm putting it on a shelf in my mind and I could repeat it back, but I'm not letting it in. I don't trust someone when they're speaking with a closed mind.
Yeah.
I don't trust someone when they're speaking with a closed heart.
Yes.
So for me to let data in, I have to feel it's coming from an open mind and an open heart.
Yeah.
Highest consciousness. And I wouldn't want someone to trust what I'm saying if it's coming from a closed heart
Yes.
or a closed mind. So that's just something that people could use when someone's frustrated with you. Just listen to their voice tone. If the heart is closed, don't trust the content.
Don't walk away. And people don't really like hearing this, but I always say go to sleep. In other words, if you're angry, this is really not the time to have a discussion anyway.
Oh, no.
So you truly just don't want to push at that. Just walk
Well,
away.
you have to ask yourself, when you're triggered, which is angry is
Yeah.
triggered, that is the least opportune moment
Yeah.
to present your case and inspire someone into their greatness. You're
Exactly.
triggered, you're in your younger self, you're probably shaming and blaming. The best time is to write it down on your phone, write a note to yourself, this doesn't work for me, and then wait an hour or a few hours,
Yeah.
and then check. 80% of the time, it will have vanished and disappeared. But every once in a while, there's something that still is like, nope, that's a pattern that I really want to work on. Now, when do I bring this up so that they're maximally resourced and receptive
Yes.
to hearing the transformation that's possible? And you have to choose between two things. Do I want a behavior change, or do I want to just shutter my frustration and grumble onto them?
Absolutely.
You have to pick one or the other because you don't get both.
You do not get both.
So you can keep shuttering your frustration and complaining and criticizing and see if that's working for you. Are you getting what you want? And when you're tired of that, there is another way. That is the MLK way, the inspirational way, that enrolls someone in their greatness and stands for them and sees them big and encourages them to actualize along that vector. And so that's what I'm always trying to do.
It's tremendous understanding. Who are your teachers? Who are your favorite teachers? You've mentioned the upper limit comments, so I'm
Well, Gay, yeah,
assuming
of course, Gay Hendricks. I love Gay
who's
Hendricks.
come up here a couple of times. I love Gay Hendricks. He blurbed my book. It was such an honor.
Yeah.
We're both cat people.
I mean, Gay and Katie are both masters
Katie.
in this domain. Their book, Conscious Loving, I call the Bible, and I tell everyone to read it. I've read the Gottmans. I love their work.
Oh, yes.
Sue Johnson, all the NLP masters. Like, I mean, I've done a lot of NLP and
Yeah.
evolutionary psychology has informed my work. I have a degree in Zen Buddhism, or Buddhism, so I studied philosophy
Wow.
and biology and Buddhism in my university career. So all of those have converged. A lot of my models come from evolutionary development of the brain, the triune brain. I've been informed by my studies of romantic poetry and classic literature.
I love it. It's such a wide breadth, and it allows you to make very different and very creative connections for really, really rich work.
Yeah, I want to systematize the maps and the relationship technologies so that I can teach them en masse. Like, I literally think most couples are like ambling around in the dark and they're trying to find each other, and I want to map a path through the darkness into the light
I think
so that they
that's your
can
next
find
project,
each other.
Annie.
Yeah.
That's your next project. You just have to figure out who's going to help you do it.
Absolutely, and they're coming.
Because the idea is there, and the idea is enormous. So finding somebody who's ready to take that incredible original ideation and carve it into the segments.
Yeah, my husband and I are already doing it. I mean, we teach together on love. We teach our own
amazing.
programs. We do everything together. We're 50-50. And
You're so brave. I love that.
part of our mission is to really stand for future, a cultural future where couples are the leaders of companies and countries and institutions. And when a couple in love has to make a decision and neither one is willing to collapse or coerce because they honor each value set, they have to tussle out their decision until it runs through both of their nervous systems, until you get a thumbs up from both of them. It's not trustable.
No.
And so when a decision is made at a company or country level by a couple in love, and you know both of them have signed their name to it, that is a highly trustable decision.
Of course.
And so we see the future of culture being led by couples in love.
I couldn't love that more. I don't know if you can tell where my accent is from. I'm Israeli. So can you imagine? This is literally the region going through the world's worst divorce.
Yeah.
And that's why it has not sustained itself. It's because there has been no real agreement from both sides to ever really come into an indulgence, which is just heartbreaking. It's
Well-
exactly what the world needs.
I really believe any two seemingly disparate perspectives always have an overlap in the Venn diagram.
Oh, of course.
I don't know where it is all the time.
Oh,
I
no,
can't
no.
always find it.
In
but
our
the fact
case,
that I believe
it's a
it.
complete overlap. Like
fact that you
that's
believe
the most
it.
hilarious thing about this entire conflict. If you can find whimsy in it,
Yeah.
it's how aligned.
It's ironic.
Yeah.
It's ironic. But having faith that there is always a shared reality available between two warring perspectives is what allows me to resolve conflict and help people believe in things that don't have any evidence or proof. You have to fake it till you make it, or as I say, faith it till you make it.
Faith it till you make it. You have to believe. Thank you for being a living example of this incredible belief. What is lighting you up? What are you very excited about? And what can we invite the audience to check out?
Well, I've been creating a new set of programs with my husband. We've been teaching coaches for a while, but what I've realized is all I want to teach really is about love.
Yeah.
How to do it personally, with your family, with your partner, whether you're in a relationship or available for a relationship. By the way, if anyone's single, never say you're single. Always say, I'm available for a relationship. Because
I love that. Yes, and very law of attraction.
Yeah, exactly. You don't want to put that in your future.
Exactly.
But what we're working right now is on these programs that we're calling Love and Money. So I'm a master at mapping.
Yes, exactly.
how to
By the
move
way,
through
I'm not
love.
broke. I am open and ready to receive.
Exactly.
Exactly.
But it's interesting when you're working on love and money as a developmental skill set at the same time, they interpenetrate and tessellate and have an exponential impact.
I mean, I tell you, that was exactly my path. I was interested in both on account of I was broke in both
Okay.
bank accounts, if you will. And when they came together and they just blew everything up. It was
Yes.
amazing.
And they
Yeah.
enforce each other.
Because once you understand one, you understand the other.
Well, they're both about receiving
Yes.
and worthiness and value. And when you can commune with the universe as if it's always trying to hand magic to you,
Yes.
you get to increase your wealth emotionally, romantically, financially, all of it. So that's what we've been doing lately. We just started these programs on love and money, and we're co-teaching together. And we're both in our genius. And so we also teach programs for couples. We've been collecting couples that are in love, that are staying together for the rest of their life, and that create value together besides having a family. So couples who work together or do a nonprofit together or doing projects together where they have to learn how to collaborate, because I think collaboration is what happens when you do a conflict right, and a conflict is a collaboration trying to happen. So
True.
I think conflict and collaboration are two sides of the same coin, and I'm teaching basically people how to collaborate with their partner, which is basically resolve conflict. And so we're collecting couples who are good at collaboration, who are staying together forever, who've been together more than 3 years, and we're building a community of couples that share their codes with each other. It's not that we're
Wow.
teaching, it's just bring them all together, and every couple's been mapping and in their silo of their relationship technologies and skills and tactics that they don't even realize would be so valuable to other people.
Yes.
So we're crowdsourcing the genius of couples with each other, and that we've been doing that. We've done 3 events of those so far, and they've been such success.
That's incredible. I'm going to link all of your information to the show notes so that people can find
Fantastic.
this. And who knows, maybe there are couples out there
Yeah.
who can join this cohort of magnificence.
Yeah, I want to work with couples who are ready to lead the world.
I think you are a couple who is leading the world.
Yay.
I can't tell you how infectious your energy is. What a joy this conversation has been.
Thank you,
you
sweetheart.
so much, Annie. Thank you. There are people whose very presence reminds you that love is not just a feeling, but a practice. And as I listened to more and more of your interviews in preparation for this, I could really, really feel that. Mazel tov.
Thank you.
I hope your life continues to be blessed with ease and with love. To the listeners, I hope you truly enjoyed this episode as much as I enjoyed this incredible conversation. If you've been loving the Coaching Masters series, please review us and subscribe so that we can continue to bring you more episodes in this vein and the best teachers on the planet so that you can become exposed to the fact that this is really not only about knowing what we teach, it's about integrity and embodiment and mission. Thank you so much for listening. We'll see you next time.